I swear the Sega Dreamcast has the single goofiest library of horror games I have ever seen in my life. Sure, there was some ports of the classics, but I mean, if you're talking the stuff you can only get on that last weird and cool console Sega made, then you're gonna be looking at the strange, the unfamiliar, and the straight up hilarious.
Like, hey man, what's happening here?
Hold on a moment, sir.
I would love to get my hands on a copy of The Ring someday. I hear that thing is a comedy goldmine. ILLBLEED is the one that probably sticks out the most, though. It had this really inventive, deduction-based gameplay where you were slowly moving along and scanning each part of the room carefully, using your intuition to determine how exactly to spend your resources on making the area a little safer to go through. It was kind of like Minesweeper, but with a survival horror twist. It had this silly and comical B-movie tone, which, while intentional, it was the unintentionally campy dialogue that truly made it lightning in a bottle.
Whew, what died in here?
It's a morgue, silly.
A morgue?
More than 100 visitors die in this park every day.
There is a lot about it that makes it kind of difficult and really confusing to get into, but it's such a weird and funny game that it is absolutely worth the patience. Now, this wasn't the only survival horror game these guys made on Dreamcast, though. Just about 2 years before, the exact same team made a very different one called Blue Stinger. Survive the terror of Dinosaur Island. What, like Mario World? That is a pretty cool name for the game, though. I mean, ILLBLEED was too. These guys are good at naming games. Blue Stinger, that's badass. Description actually sounds pretty compelling. Awakening shipwreck just after a meteor collides with a remote biotech research island, you begin to discover an uncontrollable madness unleashed in the meteor's wake. As one secret uncovers another, you piece together a horrifying revelation that could lead to the end of life on Earth? This sounds bananas! Now, I don't really know a whole lot about this game personally, but I have heard some things. I've heard that it can be very silly, just like ILLBLEED, but I've also heard it can be frustratingly difficult too. But based on what little I've seen myself from this game, just seems really weird to me. It kind of feels like they were trying to recreate the success of Dino Crisis and Resident Evil at the same time. Like, you got a virus outbreak, but they're all dinosaur mutants, but then you also got like a blue fairy thing flying around and meteors hitting the earth and aliens, and I don't know, it just seems very strange. Like it's a big tangled mess of ideas that don't really go together. But after how surprisingly cool ILLBLEED was, I'm very interested in seeing what their first stab at a horror game was. Maybe it'll be more traditional survival horror? I mean, you got Buddy Bingo holding a gun over here and Mr. in the background, so I wouldn't be surprised. The back says you can play as multiple characters, so that really has me wondering how many ideas from ILLBLEED actually originated from this game in some form. I've been pretty excited to give this thing a deep dive ever since I took a brief look at it last year for ILLBLEED, because that brief look left me with a lot of questions. What's the tone of this thing gonna be like? What does the gameplay turn into? And just how clunky are we talking, right? Is it gonna be surprisingly good or just bad? Is it gonna be hilariously stupid or just frustratingly terrible? Either way, I don't think I'm gonna have too much trouble getting through it because I'm kind of an expert when it comes to clunky video games at this point. So yeah, why don't we stick this guy in, give it a full, fresh playthrough, and see what Blue Stinger is all about. And get that VMU slapped in so we can save the game. Dreamcast actually had like the sickest memory cards, dude. Look at that. This blew my mind when I was a little kid. That game's also jump pack compatible, so may as well slap that guy in there too. Get some rumbling going. Oh yeah, you can't forget the last step in the Dreamcast ritual. I guess the wire couldn't come out of the top because all this stuff in the way. But yeah, now we are ready for some Blue Stinger. Oh wow, Activision of all companies published this. Climax Graphics. Well, I thought Crazy Games made this. Oh no, that's the same company. I guess I just changed their name between these two games. I cross-referenced the credits just to be sure, and oh yeah, I was seeing a whole lot of the same names on both. Oh yes, the late, great Shinya Nishigaki once again bringing the story. Oh, that's got me excited. Already the Blue Fairy thing, yeah, like that's what I was talking about. You see it right away. Really not sure what to make of that. You think the first thing you see would be like dino mutants or, I don't know, something scary. Maybe it'll all make sense later, I don't know. Anyway, for difficulty you got easy, medium, and hard. I usually go on hard right from the get-go, but who knows how hard this thing's gonna be to control, so I'll just go on normal this time. Starting off, we have this flashback to 65 million BC, the Cretaceous period. Whooshing right on past us goes the meteor that will extinct the dinosaurs. Activision proudly presents, are you ready for Blue Stinger? Strap your seatbelts in. We then cut to 2000 AD. A great earthquake rocks the Yucatan Peninsula, causing an area of land 400 kilometers in diameter to sink into the ocean, leaving behind only a small island at the exact center of the sunken area. Researchers are astonished to find that the area of land lost to the earthquake is exactly the same size as the meteor which caused the extinction of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. This connection to a long-forgotten past gives the new island its name, Dinosaur Island. Do you see Yoshi? 2018, present day. Another stranger, more alien-looking meteor with a green trail whizzes by. Just offshore, enjoying his vacation with a little boat ride, we have ILLBLEED, a member of the Emergency Sea Evacuation and Rescue. Yo, this guy's a rescue hero! Well, a really generic-looking rescue hero. This has gotta be probably the most generic main character I've ever seen in any survival horror game. Even more than Harry Mason, who is a character specifically designed to look as generic as possible. I don't know how they did it, but I don't think it was on purpose. What is he doing? He's like, oh, I want to go there.
Hey, Tim.
You couldn't have just made him point at it?
What's up, Elliot? Why do you think Tech built such a huge research lab on such a tiny island?
I don't know. Why do you think they made the music so loud? Anyway, Elliot and Tim, Tim's a supply cruise ship member from Kimra, they're basically talking about what they think happens over there.
Sometimes I don't understand what bigwigs are thinking.
I'm just a crew member of the supply ship. Heck, I don't even get permission to enter the residential district on the island. What the hell would I know about that?
Why is the music swelling? Nothing's happening.
This is a pretty fancy boat for just a crew member.
I can't hear you! I really think they were going for the Steven Spielberg sense of adventure, but it's so unfitting over its casual chit-chat!
Captain Dogs has a very good connections with him.
Anyway, Tim explains that he got to borrow the boat from Dogs, this sailor who's got connections over at Kimra Corp. On one condition, though. They have to decorate the boat for the upcoming Christmas party once they're done.
Decorate the boat?
The Kimura Tech Group wants to have a Christmas party on this ship.
Come on, I don't want to work. This is my first vacation I got in 2 years.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Elliot, but it seems like that vacation's about to be cut short. We then cut to a Kimra satellite way up in space. That meteor we saw earlier smashes right through it, before descending rapidly down into the Earth's atmosphere and crashing straight into the dead center of Dinosaur Island. A force field begins to surround the island, expanding all the way to the... Why did it do that? They couldn't have done a better effect for that. As the water settles, Elliot wakes to find the force field has split the boat right in half. Tim's on the outside and Elliot is trapped within. A strange blue light then dances across the water. It takes a look at that collectible fairy thing that Tim was building in that bottle, and it seems to copy something about it. And then the blue light takes the form of Tim's figurine. So that's why it's a fairy. I guess it just adopted a form that people would be able to make sense of. So what is that thing then? I don't know, and neither does Elliot, because he points a gun right at her face! I mean, you can't really blame him. I'd be terrified too. Then a swarm of gigantic dinosaur bugs randomly attack, throwing Elliot off the boat, sinking into the ocean. The ferry flies to the island, seemingly pursuing the landing zone of that meteor. Oh, in-game stuff, finally. So, Kimra Corp is clearly in a huge panic. They've got no idea what's going on. This helicopter flies past and crashes, and then we pan down to Elliot, washed ashore. The ferry comes to check on him. She leans down and shows us something. The meteor? And something else too. What kind of eldritch bullshit did you just make me see? And there she goes. Alright, well, we get to play the game now. So, control-wise, you got full analog movement, no tank controls, just like ILLBLEED. You can look around in first person. Yeah, it likes to whip back when you let go of the stick. It's that kind of, like, it fights against you a little bit. That's okay, though. I can get used to that. And, oh. Who the hell is that? Who was that? Well, he's not even there anymore. Well, I don't know what that was about. Oh, well, but we do have a... Yeah. Yo, a small hassy! These were also in ILLBLEED, but I had no idea they were actually from this game. Kimra Corp's very own energy drink. Slam one back and you'll recover some health. And yeah, health is the only thing you'll have to worry about in this game. You don't have 500 meters of various statuses like you did in ILLBLEED. Just health, plain and simple. The game overall is actually quite a bit more traditional when it comes to survival horror. Nothing on screen here really feels like a horror game, though. You got the bright Dreamcast blue sky, all of these goofy billboards. Oh yeah, Christmas. Tim did mention a Christmas party. I guess this is a Christmas game? But you'll be doing what you usually do in survival horror games. You wander around looking for items, sometimes ammo, sometimes healing stuff, and sometimes key items that you'll need to make progress. You got exploration, you got puzzles, and you got big scary monsters that'll tear you in half. Wait, what's happening? Oh, it's this guy again.
That was close.
Thanks for helping me. My name is Elliot G. Ballad.
What?
Where's Tim?
They just broke the line of axes.
Well, who are you?
Dogs. You must be with Tim.
Tim is...
They just did it again.
Tim is what?
It doesn't look like
Dead?
They're looking at each other. That's why you establish a line for the camera not to cross. So when you look at one guy, you look at the other guy, it's presented in a way where you can spatially make sense of it.
I am still a rescuer. There are people there who need help.
Oh, they just flipped it. They got it right. And never mind.
Obviously, you're going to need good help, like me. I can't let a wimp like you go alone.
Whatever.
What was this exchange? Oh, a bird's eye view? And back to, what was that? Every social interaction in this game feels like a frickin' fever dream, dude. You can never really tell where people are spatially very well, but like they also keep going through these weird canned animations that don't ever really match what they're saying.
Hey, somebody is on board.
And the way the camera whips everywhere, oh my god. Yeah, it really feels like they made all of these animations first, you know, try to cover a broad range of emotions, and then when they actually put the cutscenes together, they just kind of had to pick from the pile. They gotta be the sweatiest people on Earth because the amount of times they wipe the sweat from their foreheads, dude. Anyway, this guy right here is Dogs Bauer. And yes, that is his name, it's Dogs. It's so sick, I know. He's the captain of Tim's crew, and he agrees to help you search the island for survivors. From this point onward, we now have two characters that we can play as. Just open the pause screen, go to the character menu, and yeah, you can just swap between the two at any point you want. Yes! You don't have to wait until you find a save room or a Kong barrel, you just pause and swap at any time. The VMU display on the controller will even play a cute little animation based on who you currently have out. That is an amazing detail. I think every controller should have one of these. Now, of course, both characters aren't exactly the same. They both have their own unique quirks. They can use different weapons, they both start with different amounts of health, and they also have different running speeds. Elliot's a lot more scout-like. On top of running faster, he can also equip a melee weapon and a ranged weapon at the same time, while Dogs is more of a tank, more health, slower, and can only equip one or the other. Though unlike Elliot, he also has a block button, which can be pretty helpful for minimizing damage. I spent most of the game playing as Elliot. I just found the speed a lot more convenient, and not even just for getting around either, but also for dodging enemies. There isn't a dodge button after all, you just kinda have to run out of the way. And as for the shorter health meter, well, you can just get a lot more health from the sushi platters. Dogs isn't gonna be your only tank for very long, you can just do the same to Elliot. I did play as Dogs sometimes though. I mean, he does have different weapons after all, and there was plenty of times times where I'd rather bust out the crossbow. Swapping can also be really helpful for just getting a fresh ammo clip, or even a fresh health meter. If you're ever in a really hectic situation, like a boss fight or something, and maybe you're running low on ammo or health, or maybe you just don't have the time to reload, swap characters, and you'll then be working with whatever that guy's got left. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like having an extra tank in reserve. Just make sure your extra tank isn't like dying and has no bullets, or it's not gonna be any help to you at all. And I love that. It's this extra little thing to consider when you're dealing with your resources. It's actually a really good idea for a survival horror game, especially considering that when you do heal in this game, it's not instant like it is in most other survival horror games. No, in this game, you actually have to wait for a long healing animation that leaves you totally open and vulnerable. You can't just heal all willy-nilly in the middle of conflict. You could just die if you do that. And that led to a lot of cool moments. It was like me deciding whether to get away enough to try and get through that animation, or to just switch to whatever the other guy has. Oh, and speaking of the healing animations, dude, they always crack me up. I love these so much. Every time you drink a hassy, you slam it back, and you toss the can. And not even just the energy drinks either. He'll do this with everything. The sandwiches, the hot dogs, the hamburgers. You almost get the exact same animation. Just takes one bite, gone. Throw that shit away. That's such a waste. Like, he couldn't have given the rest to Dogs. He needs health too. Now I have to give Dogs his own entire separate hot dog. And guess what he does with it too? Exact same thing. One bite. That's enough for me. You guys can't share? We could be saving so much food. I never get tired of this. And the choice in healing items too. It's like, usually you're finding a first aid kit, or a medicinal herb, or some sort of health drink. But no, in this game, it's just like shitty fast food. It's like, dude, I'm bleeding out. I need a burger. Elliot G. Ballad limping over to a vending machine like, I'm dying. Give me a beer. This is how you'll purchase health items, through these vending machines laying around. You can also find stuff just on the ground too, usually on dead guys. That's his reaction to looting a corpse. He sees a pile of blood and gore and he's like, a hassy. The save rooms are usually a good spot to stock up on these. There's always going to be a little terminal you can use to save your game in here, but there's also usually at least a couple of vending machines too. You'll stumble upon one of these rooms every now and then, about as often as you'll find one in like a Resident Evil game or something like that. But yeah, it's basically just a room free of enemies where you can take the time to save, get yourself together, and head back out once you're prepared. Oh, and also, if I'm limping in a lot of this footage, it's not because I wasn't prepared, it's because it takes like nothing to make your guy do that. Look at how much freaking health I have. You don't even have to hit 50% before you start hobbling around. It's kind of annoying, honestly, because it does make you go a little bit slower. And if I'm not hobbling, I'm probably wobbling, because just steering the dude is even kind of weird. The camera's really always trying to look straight in the direction you're facing, so steering him gently left and right, well, that new direction quickly becomes forward. The natural reaction would be just to nudge the stick a bit and then recenter, right? You do that all the time in games. But if you do that, it whips the camera a bit slightly, and it's like, it's weird. It's not like, oh, this game's really difficult to control. No, it's not like that. It never gave me a problem, never got in the way of me trying to accomplish anything. But it's really weird that when I'm just trying to walk straight down a hallway, I have difficulty doing that. So pretty soon after Dogs and Elliot meet, they then encounter the alien again. Except this time, Dogs is the one aiming his gun at her. It instills in our mortal minds another vision. Whoa. What the hell is that thing? And it's gone.
Nephilim.
What the hell is that? How do you know its name?
I'm not sure.
Nephilim? I guess that's its name. Okay, well, I don't know what this thing wants from us or what it even is. Not once does it ever talk. It never speaks to us. It never ever breathes a single word to us the entire game. It just kind of floats around silently, ominously watching us do everything. And then occasionally it'll grant us an eldritch vision of a great calamity. Whatever this thing wants from us, it is still a mystery. She'll even follow you around in some parts of the game, just, coming along for the current objective for whatever reason. They don't even know either. She doesn't do anything gameplay related at all, so if you ever see her flying around in any of these clips, that's all it is. She's just kind of there sometimes. So, by this point, you've definitely gathered that people have been mutating into weird dinosaur creatures for some reason. Does it have something to do with that meteor, or was this Kimra's doing the whole time? Dinosaur DNA shit. Is it the corp, or is it the aliens? I don't know, but either way, it's got us dealing with some big-ass monsters.
What the hell?
Over there!
Saved by a sniper this time.
I can't believe it. Shooting from that far?
No shit.
Pretty soon we meet up with the sniper.
I knew it. She's perfect. She's my kind of girl.
Elliot, what are you talking about? Her name is Janine. She's basically a security guard here. Again!
It won't work. You can't hit her.
Why does every single character do this?
What is that thing?
Good question.
She's harmless. So far.
You know, at this point, nothing surprises me anymore. My name's Janine King. Nice to meet you, Elliot.
Just as lost and confused as we are, Janine joins our efforts to search for survivors and get to the bottom of just what's been going on around here. She doesn't become playable though, which is kind of a bummer. Just the two characters. You never unlock any more, it's just these two. It would have been cool, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't have enough time or something.
His name is Dogs Bauer.
What? You guys know each other?
I don't know her.
Well, isn't this quite the little voice cast right here? I'm sure a lot of people watching know exactly who all these three are, but yeah, we got Lonnie Minella voicing Janine, of course, and man, she's shown up in so many videos at this point. It's always great hearing her coming out of video game characters. We also got Ryan Drummond voicing Elliot.
How'd you get here?
Oh yeah, I'm sure if you didn't put your finger on it quite yet, you definitely hear it now.
You've turned into a big-time villain, Doctor.
Dogs, on the other hand, was voiced by the late and great Dean Bristow, who you probably know as Eggman from the same game.
You thought you could trick me with that fake emerald, didn't you?
I always thought his Eggman was particularly evil sounding, you know, like the Grizzle and some of those line reads, dude.
You little thieves.
They could not have cast somebody better for Dogs because he is just perfect for this guy.
Rat's place is just behind this stupid wall.
Hey, Dogs.
What?
Objectively speaking, the voice acting's not very good. I think all the voices are very fitting, but God, these poor actors really had to work with a script that was not very good.
I like it, Janine.
Who the hell is Janine?
My kind of girl, so stay away from her.
The frickin' moment Janine's on screen, they immediately try to force this incredibly cheesy romance.
I knew it. She's perfect. She's my kind of girl.
He just keeps saying the dumbest shit on planet Earth, and we're like expected to find it really charming or something.
This is for you, honey.
Oh, Elliot, you're so smooth.
What's the code?
My sweetheart.
Just sweeping her off her feet with that one.
Nephilim is following us. Seems like she's in love with you.
2 girls and a guy. I see trouble in the near future.
You want to screw the alien? Why did he say that? Why is everything this guy says just like, girl, you know, guy? It's like the most one-note writing. Maybe it was a translation thing? I know the story was written by a Japanese dude, so who knows? Maybe it comes across better in the Japanese version. Maybe there he does come off as a charming young guy.
Who the hell is Janine?
My kind of girl, so stay away from her.
Oh no, it's just actually the same voices for that version. Well, maybe it comes across better in the Japanese subtitles, I don't know. But even if that is the case, you still got the bad animation, bad scene timing, and bad everything. The long awkward pauses, and they keep interrupting each other.
Shooting from that far?
No shit.
But you know, I would be lying if I said it wasn't entertaining as hell. Like, it's stupid and goofy and silly, and you just gotta love it. I know it surely wasn't on purpose in this one, but just as much as it did in ILLBLEED, it does bring some seriously lovable camp to the table. Especially with a character like Dogs. Pretty easy to see why he's a fan favorite.
You're pretty famous.
God damn son of a bitch.
Anyway, so the three start snooping around the computer to try and figure out, what's happening? Why are people turning into dinosaurs?
Amazing! This lab immediately achieved the top revenue in the bio industry. Ever since then, it keeps on moving up.
They should pay me more so I can pay off my tab at the bar.
He never misses a single beat.
How did they achieve such wealth in such a short amount of time?
They've got the best brains in the business working for them. The second research group ended up working for the lab.
Their snooping is then cut short when they get roadblocked by a password.
Shit.
They'll need a pass card from somebody who has clearance if they want to figure out what's been going on.
Let's go to Rat's place.
Rat's place? The bar where you ran up your unpaid bill? Why do we have to go drinking now?
Don't be ridiculous. The entire city area has been destroyed. The bar may not even exist.
There's nothing you can't get at Rat's place. That's what we say. Let's go, Elliot.
Oh my god, dogs is awesome. That's what we say. Alright, well, I guess we're going to a bar now, so hey, onward to the residential district. Drinks on me. So I guess not only do people work here, but they lived here too. Must have been one of those work towns, I guess? Except on an island where you can't leave. This sounds like a great idea. This is the first major area of the game, after you're through that beginning part. This is where you start hearing that Christmas music. They made up their very own Christmas music for this game. And, you know, if there's one thing you really do have to give this game credit for, is it's the only game I've ever seen accurately depict the terror of having to hear the same Christmas song over and over and over. Yeah, there's even like a conclusion to it. And it just starts over. Like, I liked this song at first, but it really started to drive me nuts after a while. We're not even in the stores yet. Okay, let's go in. Ooh, we got shops and shops galore. Toy store, gun store, grocery store, video rental store, even a game store with shelves loaded up with unsold Sega Saturns. That's that's accurate as hell. Oh, but what's that? You want to hear where the cool kids shop? You want to hear where the cool kids get their napalm? Well, it's up on the secret floor, of course. The secret floor that you can only gain access to through the private exclusive elevator. But oh, slow down, kiddo. You can't go in there quite yet. First, you'll have to wander every store looking for all 4 funny stamps for your funny card.
Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday! Let's join in the Happy Market Christmas Stamp Rally now!
What is happening?
Pen Pen Tina! Pen Pen Sparky! Taco Pen Sneak! Toto Pen Back! Collect all 4 stamps!
This is a weird part of the game. You have to go through every single store in the shopping district looking for these kiosks to stamp your thing with.
My name is Pen Pen Sparky. Thanks for getting me.
Yeah, I'm Pen Pen Tina. Thanks for getting me.
What on earth were they going for with this? You gotta be careful looking for these things because just like the rest of this place, these shops are crawling with monsters that will pulverize you. Just like Christmas shopping in real life. Oh my god, the ads here. Oh, they look so cool. Like, it's really eerie looking. We got a big creepy Santa Claus over on this one. That's cool. Man, creepy mall Christmas decorations, that brings back memories. During this part of the game, there's also an optional side quest you can do here in the back alleys. You'll find this office with this guy here, and he's missing his medication.
I get this fit once in a while.
Hey, Devlin, where's the key to the freezer warehouse?
This dogs does not care.
Can't you see? He's sick. Where's your medicine?
Dachshund.
Dachshund.
Dachshund. I know what that was. I saw it sold out at this vending machine. I guess we'll have to find a place where it's not sold out. We'll have to find some up on the cool kids floor, and to do that, we'll have to get all the stamps. So I guess that's 42 minutes we have to get the rest of those. Which isn't hard to do or anything. I mean, that is plenty of time. Except the only thing is that a monster kind of killed me before I could get to it. But then, when I reloaded my save, I noticed I was before I talked to the guy, before that time limit started. So I was thinking, like, well, wait a minute, can I just skip the time limit by doing all of this before talking to him? So I skipped that room, I retread the entire shopping district, find all the stamps again, open up all the stores again, I carefully comb through all the monsters. The one in this hallway are pretty tough. Oh my god. And yeah, you still have to listen to that Christmas music the entire time you do this. I get the last stamp, I go up the elevator, and yeah, well, there's a dachshund. Okay, let's go see him now.
Here, I got your dachshund.
Wow, you can literally just do this.
Thanks. You saved my life.
Well, then what the hell happened when we were in there? Like, he wasn't 40 minutes away from dying until we talked to him. What did we do? What did we do to him? What did dogs do to him? This quest is super worth doing because the card key you get opens a storage locker full of ammo and resources. You can even get the shotgun for free here. Normally you gotta buy it somewhere in the shopping district. There's a lot of weapons you can buy here. Though you will see a lot of stuff you can't afford yet, a lot of stronger weapons, you know, the better healing items, even platters that'll extend your health meter. Those are super handy. We'll have to buy most of this stuff later though, because we haven't really found much money yet. From here on out, the enemy encounters will become a regular thing, and naturally, this is where you'll really start diving headfirst into the game's survival horror mechanics. The combat's actually a little bit simpler than these sorts of games usually have. You won't be holding a button down to plant your feet and ready the weapon before you fire. No, you just press the R button and your character whips it out of thin air and will just fire at whatever's in front of them. The auto aim is actually very reliable, and it's not too hard to get a feel for like how close you have to be and how much you have to be facing them for the shot to connect. It's actually pretty easy, definitely a lot easier than like any of the Silent Hill or Resident Evil games, that's for sure. Which is a pretty damn good thing considering how terrible the camera is. It really does not do well in cramped areas, which is kind of a lot of this game, so I often found myself shooting at stuff that's off screen. Lucky for me though, I've played plenty of games with terrible cameras and I've developed a very good spatial awareness for this sort of thing. So I didn't have too much trouble with it at all, just doing it based on the sound cues, but hey, that's just me. I imagine most people would probably have a pretty bad time with this, unless you're playing the Japanese version. Yeah, when I booted that thing up just to see what the voices were like, I also noticed the camera system is completely different. It's all fixed angles, just like Resident Evil, except instead of cutting between them, there's a motion. Just like Eternal Darkness, actually. Well, Eternal Darkness, if it was really snappy and weird and disorienting, oh my god, I can kind of see why they changed it in the US version. They even advertised it on the back? How would anybody even know like what that meant when they bought this? I don't know, but this has got to be one of the coolest regional differences I've ever stumbled upon. I mean, some of these angles are really wide. They really love to pull all the way back out and just show you a whole bunch of stuff at once. It's so cool. I gotta play through this whole version sometime. It's like going from Snake Eater to Subsistence. That is wild. Anyway, when you first start the game, you'll just have a pistol for Elliot and a bowgun for dogs. The pistol is weaker, but can fire more rapidly, so it's better for the little critters that come in packs and move fast, while the bowgun is slower, but does a lot more damage, so it's definitely better for taking down big guys and also stationary enemies, like these tentacles that'll whip at you. There's a lot of these tentacles, oh my god. At first I would try to run past a lot of them to save ammo, and it would work sometimes, but far too often I would get a bunch of health knocked out of me, so I eventually decided it's just best to take them out. You'll get more weapons as you make your way through the game, and the real go-to, once you get it, is easily the shotgun. It's got great stopping power, so you'll always be using it to keep the monsters at a distance. That's not what a shotgun sounds like. Yeah, it sounds like it got like a rapid fire thing going on, but that's not how shotguns work. Sure, they do fire a bunch of bullets at once, yeah, but not like this. That's not how sound waves work. It would be like a boom, not like 4 pistol noises overlaid. Dogs can also find a frickin' railgun, a little tiny railgun, and this thing is just awesome. Heavy damage and tons of knockback. Definitely best to save this one for the boss fights. And on the stronger ends of things for Elliot, I found a napalm launcher, a fiery blast that stays in place and does lasting damage, as long as it keeps touching the enemy. Again, best for boss fights. And then there's the bazooka, the classic OP. This one's from very late in the game, but man is it fun. You can't reload manually like other horror games sometimes let you do. No, you have to expend the entire clip, and then you try to fire again to make them reload. And at first, I didn't really like this. I didn't like that the only way to enter a fresh encounter with a full clip was to waste some bullets, which obviously I'm not doing, so I just kept walking into all of these scenarios a little bit less prepared than I could have been. But then I started to realize just how much strategy this was adding to the game. You do have multiple characters with multiple weapons after all, so switch to another gun. Finish that clip later in a situation that is less demanding. Or maybe just switch to dogs and see what's left in his clip. The gameplay is pretty basic, so having to consider this kind of thing actually did make the game quite a bit more fun than I think it would have been without it. I mean, that is something I do look for in these games, resource management and thinking about my supplies. And of course, you can't have that dynamic without melee combat to fall back on. When you first start, Elliot will just punch, not very helpful at all, but pretty soon you'll be able to buy an axe. Just like the ranged weapons, there's no readying the weapon. No, you just press the Y button and he'll pull it out of nowhere and start swinging right away. Well, you got a 3-hit combo. The third swing always knocks them over, so the trick is trying to position your character where you might probably not get hit and really try to get the timing to line up. Ooh, it takes a lot of practice, and I did get knocked around a lot, but if I'm being honest, I really like this. I really like this. Houston is always going to be the better option, obviously, but getting close and personal is just challenging enough. You're probably going to get hit going in there, but you can get good at it, and you can get good results with some skill and also some luck too. You're actually reading every situation and deciding whether to take that melee risk or to just play it safe, pull back, and spend your resources instead. I really feel like it's got the perfect amount of unpredictability too. No matter how confident I ever got with this melee, there would still be times where I took a bunch of damage and really just wish I pulled out the shotgun instead. You'll also unlock better melee weapons too as you go along. At a point, I found this huge-ass stun baton. The noises this thing makes! What is with this game's sound design? 22 massive weapons with explosive sound effects. Well, that sure is one way to put it. Jesus! Even later, I found a frickin' beam sword? What? Usually you go from a kitchen knife to a metal pipe to a chainsaw. No, here we go. Axe, cattle prod, lightsaber. It's not even a bonus weapon. This isn't like beat the game and get the weird, funny, overpowered weapon as a joke. No, this is just one of the regular weapons you find on the normal playthrough of the game. But you want to know what the most absurd thing about this is that it's not even the craziest thing in the game. What about Dogs' melee weapons? You know, are you ready for these? Well, firstly, he gets a cartoonishly big club that has a really long wind-up and hits as hard as a ton of bricks. That's kinda silly, sure, whatever. But I'm not talking about that club. I'm talking about the t-shirts. So I just walk into the save room, and on the floor is a shirt. A karate shirt. What the hell is this? Where is it? I'm looking for it in my items, and I do not see it anywhere. So that's kind of weird, I kind of forget about it, but later, I just happen to be looking at Dogs' weapon screen. And there I see karate shirt. What are you talking about? How the hell is a shirt a weapon? Oh. He just knows karate when he's wearing it. Would he absorb the knowledge through the cloth and fabric? What are you talking about? No, yeah, you just put this thing on, he's throwing out chops and karate kicks. And that's not even it either. There's also a sumo shirt that has him throwing out palms of fury. There's a wrestling shirt too? Oh my god, this has got to be one of the most absurd weapons I've ever seen in any survival horror game I've ever played in my life. Well, at least if you're not counting like a bonus weapon or joke weapons, because no, like this is just the regular stuff you find in the main playthrough. I didn't really end up using these much though. Elliot's melee is just way more effective. At least I thought so. And Dogs also can't have a gun equipped at the same time either, which is a shame. I love how silly this is. I wish I actually had more reason to use it. Every time you defeat an enemy, they'll drop a bunch of coins? Yeah, like it's River City Ransom or some shit. Oh my god, the coin sounds. Again, why do they stack the sounds like that? Once you pick up enough coins, or Kimra dollars to be exact, Kimra dollars, you can then exchange your Kimra dollars for a wide variety of quality Kimra products. So yeah, there's a currency in this game, just like Resident Evil 4 had. Except instead of a spooky merchant, you buy literally everything out of vending machines. Food, hassy, shotgun shells, napalm, you know, all the basic needs of a shining member of the Kimra corporatocracy. Now, this game having a currency is certainly a double-edged sword, and I'm talking a big-ass sword here because on one hand, yeah, it does create a reward for dealing with enemies, one that gives the player the freedom to pick and choose which resources they see fit, and that's great. It lends itself to replayability, it lends itself to tenseness and player choice, and that's precisely why this idea works so well years down the road in Resident Evil 4. But then you look at the other hand and you realize, oh wow, none of that matters because almost every single enemy in the game respawns indefinitely. If you kill a monster, leave the room and come back, they're just alive again. Every single time. It doesn't matter how many times you kill them either, they will always come back. This is like how not to do survival horror 101. With limited resources comes limited things to spend your resources on, right? That's why there's only so many zombies in Resident Evil. It's why enemies only respawn at select key moments in Silent Hill. It's why there's not an infinite amount of ghosts to encounter in Fatal Frame. So, respawning enemies means two things. A, spending your ammo to remove a hazard from the playing field is not a done deal. Those resources you spent only benefit you until you leave the room, meaning it's actually a waste of ammo half the time, and you're better off just running past most of these fools. You're just gonna come back anyway, why spend the ammo, right? And, oh yeah, B, that also means infinite money, baby! So you can just actually grind a mountain of Kimra dollars, fill your frickin' boots with hassy and ammo, and you're pretty much invincible. I'm slamming back hassys, I'm slamming back hassys, you cannot stop me at all. Slamming back hassys, I'm slamming back hassys, and that's how I'm invincible. This is kind of ridiculous. There's multiple spots in this game where I found a really good grind room and I would just keep reloading and unloading again and again and again and again and again. Hassy master, gimme. Nobody's ever drank as much of the stuff as me, and that is an objective fact. Wait, how many of these a day are you supposed to have? This is terrible game design, and it sucks so much too because they were so close. They had everything else here. A great conversation between the melee and the ranged that had you making conscious decisions about your supplies. You were trying to ration your resources and the save points. They were so perfectly spaced apart, it actually felt like you had to survive on your way to the next one. There was times I really didn't want to die, and the tension was there. It felt like survival horror. But the moment you do something like this, the second something like this becomes exploitable, all of that goes out the window. That all gets completely trivialized. The stakes just kind of vanish the moment you don't have to worry about any of that. It's such a bummer because earlier on, before I could just become Mr. Invincible, I was actually thinking about what I was doing all the time. Like these little guys here, for example, they are a pain in the ass to deal with. But in this room, I was thinking, well, I gotta push that block. Can I get through this room? Can I do what I have to do here without getting close enough to get their attention? You know, I was actually stopping and looking around and making a decision. I really enjoyed carefully taking my time and whittling through slowly in a way that was making the best of my resources. But that all completely vanished the moment I realized you could just easily get infinite healing items and ammo. God, it's almost as bad as Kuon was. I guess there were still some moments I found myself running low on stuff and I did have to be careful, and the tension was there. The tension of, oh, can I please get past these guys without dying? I need to get to safety. And it was great when the game did do that. But with an entire frickin' cooler loaded full of hassy strapped to your back and, oh, what's that? There's also 400 shotgun shells in there too? Well, it sounds like I don't really have to think about saving my resources at all. And that's so disappointing because that is an entire layer that I play survival horror games for. And it's just not here at all. And the other problem with this, of course, is that you could just grind early in the game and get the late game weapons right away. Once again, completely demolishing the balance of this game. But I suppose with how little the early game monsters do give you, it would take a long time. So, I don't know, it's weird. Like, you can do it, that is a flaw, but I guess it is inconvenient enough that most people probably won't bother. Hassy, however, is cheaper than gum, so the healing item exploits are sort of difficult not to abuse. Exploits aside, though, I guess it is a pretty neat system. Well, it would have been a pretty neat system if it worked as intended. I do love seeing all of these things you can't get yet. It makes you excited to come back sometime and try something new. And it also gives the player, again, more freedom to pick what they want. And that can make each playthrough feel pretty different from each other, with different weapons each time. After all, there's so many of them that it really doesn't feel like you're expected to use every single one on a single playthrough. It feels like they're there to give replays more variety. The real big guns are locked behind this door here. Only customers with over 3,000 Kimra dollars in their pocket can enter. They even have these scanners that just, like, detect how much money you have. That's a dystopian concept. Corporatocracies are awesome, dude. You get to live here and you can't go home when things go wrong. Let's go live on Mars! While pretty much every weapon in the game is purchasable somewhere, you are able to find a lot of them just hidden around for free. I already mentioned the shotgun from that optional quest, but there's also a Gatling gun for dogs too. This one's being guarded by a giant hermit crab thing. Whoa, it's using a military truck as a shell. That is badass. You can kill it if you want, but you actually don't have to. You can just lure him away, push the boulder when you have enough time, and then it's just a short hike around the arena. Just make sure you don't run into this tentacle here because, the camera's still trying to look at the boss, so you can't really see where you're going too well. Most bosses aren't optional though. You'll usually have to beat these things in order to get a key item or something. And these boss encounters are real weird. There is rarely ever a cutscene that introduces it or makes you aware that you're walking into a fight. No, most times you just walk in, you see a health bar, and it's like, oh, there's a boss, I guess. It's just kind of standing there. They're not the hardest fights in the world or anything. As long as you're good enough at getting out of the way and keeping your distance, you shouldn't have too much trouble. Also a great time to bust out those big guns. That napalm makes short work of a lot of them. Granted, you can time the explosion carefully so the fire lands in the spot where it'll do as much damage as possible before it goes out. I love trying to maximize damage with as little rounds as possible like that. Like, this game sometimes does do that quite well. Finding survivors is another way you'll often find key items. You got this dude here trapped in a random tram car, a random shop employee, he gives you a key card.
Do you have the card key to the freezer warehouse?
Who are you?
Oh, the little girl in the arcade. She's probably the most interesting example of this. If you approach her, she just cries about something called Gaily.
Gaily!
Well, the only thing to do in here is play this shooting gallery arcade game, and yeah, you just blow it to bits with real-ass guns. It still considers that a win, though, so cool! Then we get a giant plush as a prize. Oh, this is Gaily.
Merry Christmas.
Gaily!
Where are your parents?
I don't know.
I actually found a little bit of Gaily lore in the instruction manual. Apparently, it's from a show called Grumpy Gaily and Weepy Gary.
You're good looking. I'll give you a Christmas present.
Did her brain blue screen? What happened?
It's Christmas Eve!
There it is. Anyway, at first it doesn't really seem like she gives you anything. She just keeps repeating the same weird line every time you talk to her. You're good looking, I'll give you a Christmas present. It's Christmas Eve. How does that help us? We're dead-ended here at this padlocked door with no code, and I ran around and there was nothing else to do. But wait a minute, no, what did she say? Christmas Eve. Oh, 12:24. 1, 2, 2, 4. There we go. A lot of the game's puzzles are this kind of thing. A lot of finding bits of info and figuring out where to input them. Usually passcodes and stuff. You're always trying to get access to more of that, database or whatever, so, this one part where you don't have the password to a key card, so you have to look at the guy's other cards to try and figure out what the pin could be. I like how much you have to examine these things in your inventory. I appreciate when they make, the descriptions they write for these things actually helpful in some way. Other times you'll have to push around these blocks, which I'm sure you've seen throughout this video plenty of times so far. Yeah, you just run into it long enough and eventually you'll start shoving it along. It's pretty basic stuff, just, for getting up to places that are a little too high, climbing up the block, it's like basic Zelda 64 shit. I guess sometimes it is a little less obvious though. It was really just this part of the game here. This really tripped me up. When you finally get to Rat's place, that bar that dogs wanted to go to, well, there's no one in here, so I know we're looking for a secret entrance, and oh, there's a button right there. We totally gotta push that. I mean, it looks like it. I mean, why else would it stick out so much? But despite being totally tall enough to just reach up and push it, neither character would. I was mashing every button and everything and looking around in circles for this place for something else to do, and no, it's just this button. You have to push this. Eventually, I look it up, and you know what you have to do is you have to push the pool table. How would I know to do that? Every pushable object in the game thus far has just been a block. So of course I wasn't gonna think to push this thing. Maybe they just needed some sort of hint. Like, if trying to interact with the button just gave you a message saying, it's too high, I can't reach it, that would have been something to go off of at least, but here you're just wondering whether or not this is even the thing you have to use. Well, now that we can finally push the button, we go down the secret staircase into the wine cellar, and here we find that bar owner.
Dang, he's alive! I was hoping you'd be dead so that I'd be debt-free.
Dogs, get to the point.
I need a lab ID.
Check the wine rack. The one with all the tabs.
So you're supposed to push this wine rack out of the way, but I couldn't figure that out. A second thing in a row I didn't realize you could push. So I ended up finding the ID card and the driver's license just by mashing the A button and walking around. I got it through the thing. One really cool thing this game does actually are all these optional puzzles surrounding this bank here. There's a bunch of times where you may find an ATM card, and every time you do, there's always some way you can find the PIN code for it. The first one you get, of course, is Elliot's. You just start the game with this in your inventory. What's the code? Well, he won't tell you, but he's not very good at picking a secure PIN because he just made it his employee number. You can just see it there on the character select screen. Alright, get that typed in, and... What? How do you only have that much? This one here has us interpreting a simple code. If HEAD spells 8514, then the PIN number is acid. 1394. Easy. Yeah, that's 2,000 Kimmer dollars right in my pocket. There's a number of these you can find, but my favorite one is if you return to the bank after the clock strikes midnight.
It's now the 25th.
Oh, this is the worst Christmas I ever had.
Damn, it's my payday.
That is actually a hint. If you think to head back to the bank now, Elliot will have a fresh paycheck in there for you. That's pretty cool. If only backtracking on the way here wasn't so freaking annoying. Oh my god, that is easily the worst thing about this game. All the running around, it can be really mind-numbing. There's a handful of sequences here that end up being really daunting because of it. The earliest one I can think of is on the way here to Rat's place. You gotta go through these frozen hallways that deplete a warmth meter, and when that goes, your life starts depleting. So you gotta look for these warm rooms and items that can keep you warm, and eventually you just turn the heat on. It took me a couple of tries before I knew where to go. Like, I just kept going the wrong way, and then I would, like, die from the cold. I knew where to go after a couple of tries, though, and then it wasn't so bad. But, the real annoying part about this is this part right after. You have to swim. And yeah, there's swimming. This is the last thing Elliot can do that dogs can't, and oh my god, these are the slowest, clunkiest swimming controls I think I've ever used. How do I even begin to describe this? Okay, so imagine classic 2D Mario swimming, like in the 2D games and in some of the 3D games do it, but the kind of swimming where you're always sinking slowly and then you tap one button to ascend a little bit. Imagine that, except instead of being in water, you're just in molasses. Like, it is excruciatingly slow. You have to navigate this big maze too, and it takes forever. And to make things worse, there's a giant evil fish trying to kill you. You can't avoid it because you're too slow, so you have to kill it. How? With the pistol. Apparently it still works underwater. I don't know why. I know that doesn't make sense. I guess I had to throw you a bone somehow. This is how you get to the rear end of the residential district, on the way to Rat's place. But what if you want to come back here later? There's a great grinding spot after all, and the bank too. Well, you gotta unlock that shortcut I mentioned sucks. There's a pool of killer fish that'll annihilate you in seconds. So we gotta find some fish poison, toss it in, and you have a new water channel to go through to get back to the main area. Except you still have to swim really far, and it still takes freaking forever, and you still have to deal with a big-ass fish you can't outswim and have to waste a bunch of ammo on. And you can't forget that the enemies respawn, so every time you want to come back through here, it's back again, ready to bite your dick off. Shortcut my butt! Okay, now that we are finally back with the keycard from Rat's place, we still run into yet another snag. The electrical systems are down, so we still can't get in.
I'll bet you need a bigger electric system in the deep island.
What are they doing in such a place?
The lab there is called Fossil Home. Even security guards are not allowed to get in there. It's like a black box. I've never seen anything like it.
Can we get to the electric system?
I guess. We have Chris's ID.
To get there, we have to trek through the most heavily guarded portion of the island, and this place is just miserable. You can't walk 2 frickin' steps without a super droid blasting you to smithereens. Look at this, like I can't even dodge this. Stop! Stop! There, I'm dead. At least they stay still, like they don't chase you around, so if you do try to keep your distance, you can avoid most of it. But the problem is, there's all these rooms you can go in, and of course you have to check them all. There could be something you need in there, so you have to walk into their line of fire all the time just to get in and out of these stupid little buildings. Okay, I kind of got a feel for it. Yeah, if you veer left and right, with the right rhythm, you can dodge a lot of it, but even once I had that figured out, it was still far from consistent. I was still getting blasted quite a bit. This is a pretty patience testing part of the game, that's for sure. Okay, once we're past all that bullshit, we find ourselves at a dead end.
It's history. We can't go any further.
Don't give up so easily.
Determined to find a way across, Elliot climbs up this tower here. Oh, there's a computer. What's this all about?
System lock. Currently, the system is not engaged. Please remove the lock cap from an intake hole.
3 holes in one guy? Ha! I see trouble in the near future. So we bust those off. I think that's what I'm supposed to do. It doesn't look like that's what I'm supposed to do, but there's nothing else to do up here, so we head all the way back down to the computer and,
Emergency. Tank will explode momentarily.
Wait, what do you mean there's gonna... Wait, do I... What? What happened? What did I do wrong? There was nothing to do. There was no ladder there. I mean, the ladder was there, but it was blocked by a little barrier thing. I couldn't go back down. Where does the game expect me to go? Like, run back up the tower? It's blowing up. I'm not going up there. Okay, well, let's try breaking one of these instead of all 3 of them. Like, that's gotta be it, right? That's gotta be it.
Tank will explode momentarily.
So, am I okay this time? I'm good. No, it's right there! Oh! Well, that didn't work at all.
Tank will
Okay,
explode
take 3.
momentarily.
So I'm just running right away this time. I must have to go this way. I don't see how running to the top of this tower, the tower that's exploding, the tower where there's nowhere to go at the top, how would this be what you do? How is it there's no way? There's gonna be nothing to do up there. Unless there's like I don't know, a zip line or something I missed. Like, there has to be something. There's gotta be. Maybe? Almost there, and no, there's nothing here. Well, then where do I go? Wait, hold on. You're just gonna jump? That was amazing! That was amazing! Holy shit! And that's how we get over here. There's no way he knew that would happen. A couple of screens later, and we're finally at the Kimra power plant. This is where the game gets pretty daunting again. You've got this big maze of hallways and electrical rooms, and you basically gotta find these 3 power cables and then search the maze for 3 power boxes that need fixing. But there's so many of these little rooms, and each one has 3 or more panels to check, so if you miss a cable or a power box, well, that's this entire area you have to research all over again. Oh, and keep in mind that every single time you leave one of those rooms back to the hallway, all of the enemies respawn. Oh, this part takes forever. It's so meandering. Like, this is why most of the doors in Silent Hill are busted. You get the feeling of being in a full-on building, but without overwhelming you with a million rooms to look through. Because once you realize you're missing one little thing, well, I would rather have 4 or 5 rooms to rummage through again than 20. This is the part where you should just hit up a walkthrough and just read what rooms to bother with, because I played through this part blind and it was a repetitive nightmare. Once the power's all fixed up, we then head all the way back to the brain center, and the gang then discovers the precise location of that blue meteor. Elliot and Dogs decide to go check on it in hopes that they'll finally find an answer. We are now entering the final stretch of the game, and buddy, let me tell ya, if you thought this game was goofy and silly and dumb so far, you haven't seen anything yet. So hey, if what I've shown so far makes you want to play this game for yourself someday, you gotta skip this part. You have to save this for the surprise. This is what you played through the whole game for. So here's a spoiler stamp if you want to skip right to my closing thoughts and stuff, but hey, otherwise, why don't we see how this masterpiece wraps up? Because dude, you're in for one wild freaking ride. Okay, let's jack that Jeep, drive on down, and here we are at the Kimra Xenobiolab, where the real magic happens. The lab requires sterilization, so to get in, we'll have to first find some clean clothes.
We should change.
The pair we find, however, only fits Elliot. Dogs is too big, so for him, we'll have to improvise.
I guess I have no choice.
It suits you.
When you have a kid, I'll visit you from the chimney.
That day might come soon.
He'll be dressed like this for the next entire stretch of the game. Well, there's one more room here before we get to the lab, and may as well see what that is. Oh, it's a big bathroom.
Look at that. It's a bathtub. Cool.
What do you mean, cool?
We stink. It's the smell which lures out those bastards.
Really?
course I'm joking, idiot.
Watch it, you old coot. Careful whose leg you're pulling.
Stop babbling. Let's go.
Yeah, dogs would just want to drop everything and take a bath for no reason. Well, why does the Dreamcast love Comic Sans so much? Bathroom, laundry. The laundry machines just say laundry on them.
I'm gonna take a bath. Nothing's gonna stop me.
What?
What you'll do if the monster attacks you while you're butt naked?
What?
I'll fight back butt naked. Stop whining. Let's jump in the tub.
I'm not sure if this is such a good idea.
Hey, in the tub we go. Taking a bath in the middle of a battlefield. Ain't that cool?
Well, I guess.
Hey, you're more macho than I thought.
Shut up.
What?
This might be the last bath I can take.
I see.
That scene is so good. I just had to show the whole thing. I did my best with the subtitles. I don't know if that's what they're saying, but I tried. Well, I guess now that we're all squeaky clean, we're set to pass that checkpoint into the lab.
Clean check passed. You are now permitted to enter.
In here, we immediately get attacked by this giant blob? That's a first! It's just been dino guys, bugs, and mutants up until here. Well, luckily Santa Claus is here to fill those stockings with pain! Ah! Oh, that's it. Hey, a key card.
Oh.
What's wrong?
I feel sick. I think I swallowed some of the monster vomit.
How did you manage that?
Oh, that's not good.
From this point onward, Elliot slowly starts developing this weird purple rash. I feel sick. And it keeps spreading more and more and more until...
Now what? Ellie!
He turns into a dinosaur man?
Oh!
And you still play as him and everything. He even gets new powers. He can now climb up these pipes and all of the locked rooms that you couldn't get into before. Elliot goes full on Spider-Man, dude. He's climbing all the ceilings and shit. When he's in this form, the only thing he's able to say is just like moaning in pain.
If you change again, I'll kill you.
Oh no, Elliot even agrees, the poor guy. We gotta find 30 minutes to live? What? We have to find an antidote quick. Is there one in here?
Oh, it's not.
No, he just pees. You walk in this room, a cutscene starts, he walks up, does his business. There's also a really crazy looking dinosaur in here. I'm pretty sure it's invincible though. I tried to kill it, but I wouldn't waste my ammo if I were you. Now there is a way to extend how much time Elliot has left. If you drain those dino inhibition chemicals, you can swim in it. You swim in this stuff. But hey, it works. And oh, what do we have here? I think this is that antidote.
Are you all right?
I'm fine now. I'm okay.
I thought it'd have to kill you.
With Elliot back to normal, the two then gain access to the clone room. Whoa, that's the monster from the visions. Were they trying to clone it? Here we even find a data disk that belonged to Dr. Kimra himself. I'm willing to bet this'll have something important on it. We then take a long journey down to the very core of the island. And there, we finally discover the precise location of the blue meteor.
What's the purpose?
There's something underneath there. The meteor wants to get right through it. The disk we found might tell us something. Hey, we should have Janine check this out.
Wait, Janine, like at the brain center? So you're telling me I have to walk all the way back? What's with all the backtracking, man? Why can't we just, like, cut to when we got back? No, instead we have to not only run all the way back up this incredibly long hallway thing, but then we gotta teeter-totter our tootsies on paper-thin pipes. Yeah, they just had to throw something like this at us. You better have stocked up on those harnesses, because the collision here is crud. Also, kinda hard to walk accurately with how wobbly the controls are. Like, I just want to go straight. Well, after a horrible, long, and daunting hike, we eventually make it back to the brain center, where we then check out that data disk we found.
The answer is here. In the disk Dr. Kimura kept to himself till he died. This island is an egg of the monster?
We're on a freaking dinosaur egg?
This is the meteorite that wiped out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago.
So, that earthquake that rocked the peninsula, that was the egg beginning to hatch. Kimura, or Kimura, I think they were supposed to be Kimura, but they spelt it as Kimura, I don't know. Kimura clearly knew that this could happen. They knew that this monster could arise out of the island and could start creating terror across the planet. So they had a failsafe.
What is it?
An orbiting laser-guided missile-launching satellite. The target is locked onto the center of Dinosaur Island in case of an outbreak.
That's impressive.
However, when Nephilim landed, it destroyed that satellite. It almost seemed on purpose. It's uncanny the trajectory it would have needed.
There goes the fail-safe plan.
Nephilim clearly wants this monster not to die and to be united with it. Everything points at that being bad for humankind. So you know what they think they have to do?
We have to drop the Nephilim meteorite on the core of the egg.
What? How are you gonna drop a meteorite through 5 layers of shutters?
You don't, you give up.
I have a plan.
No!
Go to my flat in town and bring me a rifle. I'll tell you why when you get back.
Okay, one last thing to do before the grand finale. We gotta head back into town, this time around this way. Oh, I was wondering when we go through here. Yo, we got a movie theater! Oh, there's all sorts of made-up movies on the posters, too. Yes! Oh, these guys love doing that. And I love seeing it. Hey. Inside, we gotta fight a big, weird garbage monster? Very odd on the eyes, this thing. Not sure what it's supposed to be, but we take it out and we find a secret entrance that goes right to the apartments. And it is one weird-ass apartment building. They don't even have proper units. It's just a bunch of random hallways that connect to a bunch of random rooms. It's like everybody on the floor shares living spaces or something. That's what it seems like, at least. It's very weird. So, being a Christmas game and all, I'll give you one guess how we get into Janine's apartment. Yup, we gotta go down the chimney. It's a shame Dogs isn't wearing that Santa Claus outfit anymore. Well, maybe they didn't want to overdo it or something like that. In here we find that rifle, and a little piece of family drama, too.
Hey, what's this?
None of your business.
But this lady holding a baby, she's an Easter shooting instructor.
Jean King. My ex-wife.
Then the baby is...
Janine. My daughter.
Wow, the plot thickens.
So I guess that's why Dogs has been acting so weird around Janine. I suppose after his wife, her mother, passed away, their relationship fell apart.
Janine King.
Yeah, and this is their idea of an awkward moment. It does go on this long.
Elliot.
I see what they were going for with this.
Who the hell is Janine?
But they're so bad at getting that across. Like, all Dogs has been doing is acting like he doesn't know her.
What? You guys know each other?
I don't know her.
And just being really mean to her for no reason.
That snotty little brat. No better mother is exactly like her.
You knew her mother! You were married to her! She's dead!
What a bitch!
What? She didn't do anything!
I think she's cute.
And since these interactions all don't make any sense, the only thing this plot twist actually does is recontextualize everything Elliot's been saying in front of him.
I love these kind of chicks. My kind of girl, so stay away from her.
Oh my god, he's been hitting on his daughter right in front of him the entire time!
Got it, sugar. I've got a present for you. Women love a guy who'll risk his life for adventure. 2 girls and a guy. I see trouble in the near future.
I want to have an alien threesome with your daughter. If I was Dogs, I would hate Elliot. All this weird stuff he says to him, yet the game still pretends there's some sort of bromance developing between the two. They're getting along, these jolly ha-has, just ignoring all the weird stuff he's been saying. It's like they just write random relationships into the story without even trying to earn them, without even trying to make any of it make any sense. It's like none of this writing was even remotely thought out whatsoever. Well, once we're back with that sniper rifle, it's now time for the grand final plan. Janine explains that with a very carefully set up shot, she'll be able to snipe this pump here.
When we destroy this and let the pressure out, the rest of the shutters should open up. We get to the top of the wave tower and shoot the pump with a long-range rifle.
She's a genius when it comes to shooting.
Look at him. Now he's a doting parent.
Still don't know why we're trying to unite the Calamity Demons, but okay, let's do it. We head down this funny sewer tunnel thing all the way up the wave tower, and here we are at the final thing. And I've heard horror stories about this sequence. You have to protect Janine from these 2 invincible monsters for 3.5 minutes! Oh no, okay, well at first I'm trying a combo of the shotgun and the beam sword, since, you know, I figured they'd be good for slowing them down. The shotgun's good at knocking things over and the beam sword's really strong, but no, she's still taking a lot of damage. That reload's real long too. Yeah, no such luck. I lose before I even get halfway. Okay, for this next try, let's go all out with the bazooka. Okay, yeah, this is working better. Oh no, but that reload, that takes way too long. They get in a bunch of free shots every time I have to do that. Yeah, no dice. Okay, 3rd time's a charm. Bust out the railgun this time, and oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about. It's fast, it fires frequently, and it knocks them right over in one shot. Reload's not bad either. Okay, wow, yeah, once I switched to this thing, it then became easy as heck. Oh no, I ran out. Gatling gun? Oh, well that works just as well. Yeah, as long as you know what weapons to use here, this isn't very hard at all. Now that Janine has finally finished setting up, she takes the shot.
What the hell?
Yeah, what the hell? Who could have saw this coming?
Get down!
A great dinosaur emerges from the center of the island. But then, Nephilim appears, coming out of his chest or something, and the battle begins. Well, it looks more like they're mating than it does their fighting, but, you know, whatever gets the idea across, I guess. 2 girls and a guy? Anyway. Despite Nephilim's efforts, the dinosaur still breaks loose, and I guess we just fight him. Yeah, he's the final boss. Time to fight the big dinosaur that we completely could have stopped coming out to begin with. He's not very hard. Didn't stand a chance against Elliot's bazooka. I guess I did get hit a lot, but the arena is so big and his animations are so long that it wasn't too hard to pop off a healing item. Many rockets later, and the beast is finally toast. It and Nephilim begin to glow into a giant white sphere, a laser launches into the sky, and the barrier finally dissipates. Oh hey, it's Tim! He's alright! In her new, strange, gargantuan form, Nephilim soars into the sky. The gang waves goodbye, and she takes off into space. And there's the credits. But that isn't it yet. Once the credits are over, we then see Nephilim floating off gently into space. With a bright light, she then transforms into... Whoa. Well, that looks just like the original meteor from 65 million years ago. But if that was an egg, does that mean this is also an egg? Whoa! Well, those look like the blue stingers, the meteor, the comet. Huh? What? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? You know, I made fun of the animation here, but no. What if that's what it's supposed to be? What if they are mating? What if that's exactly what this is supposed to look like? What if that's why this meteor came here to begin with, and why the second one did too? Is this some sort of gargantuan cosmic 65 million year-long life cycle beginning anew once more? I mean, that's obviously the egg, but the stingers, they are for fertilizing the eggs. While we danced around like clowns all day, eldritch entities from deep space we cannot understand used our planet as a womb. What does that mean for Earth? Is that the planet's real purpose? Are we simply the microbes of a greater being? Do we only matter as much as a single white blood cell? Our bodies are made out of trillions of cells. They create tissue, repair our bodies, fight our sicknesses. Were we the tiny cells aiding a gargantuan natural process that we could never even begin to comprehend? How much about us do you think a single cell in our bodies knows? Nothing! It couldn't even begin to know anything! It is physically impossible for it to even start to understand what it contributes to. So that really begs the question, doesn't it? What the hell did we just contribute to? Well, the answer is, we don't know. We can't know. We will never know. I don't think there is a single piece of information in this game that even begins to paint a clear picture as to what the hell that was. So all we can do is stare up into the cosmos and just wonder. Like, dude, I cannot even begin. I cannot even begin to describe to you how blindsided I was by this ending. Like, holy shit, this is legitimately probably one of the coolest endings to any piece of media I've ever seen in my life. And it came from this? This is what conjured that? The freaking clown game where Sonic and Eggman take a bath together for no reason, when there's all these stakes at stake, and he goes, "In the tub we go!" The game where you buy napalm out of vending machines? The game that almost has a fantastic survival horror conversation, but then completely drops the ball and accidentally spirals into a comedy fest of adorable camp? The game where you're still doing that clunky combat that I just love so much. My brain's making like a clicking noise. Something just happened. Whoa. I just had a revelation. Blue Stinger is one of my favorite video games. This is one of my favorite things I've ever played in my life. This game's got everything I ever wanted, dude. Clunky combat, cool freaking areas to explore, really fun weapons, classic Dreamcast mid-res visuals, the stupidest and silliest characters you've ever seen, and a genuinely cool ending that I never would have seen coming in 65 million years, dude. Now, objectively speaking, it's not a good video game. Oh, hell no, it kinda sucks. Bad design all around. But if you're already adjusted to old, clunky horror games, you just gotta love it. It's the best kind of bad. I mean, there are some frustrating parts here. A lot of backtracking, too. That really should have been cut down. And those shortcuts really needed to be better. But most other problems you can either find some neat little solution to, or they're just so silly that they almost end up adding to the experience. I suppose it kinda does fall flat in its face with the actual horror elements. Some areas can be a little atmospheric, I guess. There's some dank and dark hallways, sure. But everything is so brightly lit and colored that it feels more like we're at a Toys R Us. But lacking atmosphere aside, the overall presentation here is actually really top-notch, especially for the time. The amount of love and care that was clearly put into bringing every little last piece of this island to life, it really is something to be admired. In the midst of all this game's problems, that's the one thing they always get right, is the world building. There's so many cool little consistencies. It's like they had the entire island all mapped out in their heads and they made sure to get every last bit correct. Like the way the lunchroom does not have a cafeteria, but instead rows and rows of vending machines. Food court vending machines that they modeled and textured specifically just for this room. They didn't have to do that at all. They could have just copied and pasted some of the existing vending machines here, but no, they made versions of these that look like food court storefronts just because it completely fits into how everything we've seen so far has worked. And the ads for hassy, everywhere you look, ads and pinups and posters and billboards, melting the hassy brand straight into your brain. Like, I've never wanted to drink something that does not exist so freaking badly in my life. Even some of the enemies, they're wearing hassy shirts. I don't know if people like do custom artwork on aluminum cans or anything like that, but like, dude, I need a can of hassy. Elliot's Easter shirt shows the year that the group got made, and it's a year that makes sense. Every person you find not knowing what's going on and how that's perfectly believable because every job they have doesn't involve the actual research going on here. Anyway, I could go on and on and on with all these different examples, but my point is that this may be a terribly written story, but man, is it one hell of a brilliantly designed world. Did it have the potential to be a truly great survival horror game? Yeah, it did. Did it ruin that potential by making all the resource management superfluous? Yeah, it did. But hey, at least this does kind of add to the unintentional comedy, you know, at least there's something here. And I would rather this be the problem than the resource management being poorly designed but still implemented and just making a game that's far more frustrating. I guess what I'm saying is that if the problem is going to lean in one direction or the other, this is the direction I would far prefer it to lean towards. Oh, I should probably mention the music before I entirely wrap up. I really do think that is a big part of this game's identity, after all. It's not the most amazing orchestra, the recordings are a bit muffly, and the instruments do blend together a bit. And not to mention, it is always like way too much for what's going on. Like, I'm going to a fishing store, bud. Like, like, settle down. But sometimes it hits the energy just right, it actually fits the situation, and then they hit you with that killer leitmotif. Actually sick as hell. It's like, oh, that's gonna be stuck in my head for like 500 years. Like, I swear for every stupid thing this game has, it also has something weirdly good, too. I mean, hell, in the middle of all of this terrible writing and silly delivery and all of these goofy animations, there is a surprisingly gripping mystery here. From the beginning, they're hitting you with so many concepts and questions that were genuinely interesting. Interesting enough to carry my curiosity through the entire freaking game, all the way to an ending that I found really cool and genuinely gratifying. And there are very few games that manage to do this for me to this extent, good or bad. So hey, honestly, I would say this game is absolutely worth playing. It may not be as unique or good as ILLBLEED, but it's a lot easier to wrap your head around, and, you know, while ILLBLEED may be more deliberately outrageous, I would argue Blue Stinger gets far more ridiculous. In both stupid ways that's funny, but also really cool ways that is just genuinely fascinating. As of this video, there isn't currently like a legal way to play it. It's never been re-released, so the only option for that, I guess, is to pay too much for it on eBay. And I also have to acknowledge the unfortunate reality that is, these prices always go up when attention is brought to them, and from the passage of time in general too. But you know, I think it's an objective failure of human society that in order to legally experience much old media, we have to outbid each other. Like, this experience on this disc has a financial worth and should only be enjoyed by those who have enough money to blow on it. I think physical media, at least old physical media, really has become objectively obsolete. Like, I love collecting old games because I love collecting the history. I love collecting the formats that existed back then when I was young. But this stuff should be for A, collectors that want history in their homes, and B, for the people who want to document it. Actually enjoying just the software, actually just playing the game, that, I think, should be something completely separate. So all I'm saying is, it was really easy to get this thing working on Steam Deck, and it runs pretty good, and it runs pretty fine. If fans can do what Nintendo don't, well then Nintendo gotta step up to the plate and make a better version than the version that we can. It's what I'm saying, bro. I know it's complicated. I mean, like, who even has the rights to this game? How do you even re-release something like Blue Stinger? I guess you could also get your Dreamcast physically modded so you can plug a USB stick in the back and load your ISOs off of that, which I really should do sometime because this game crashed 7 times on my playthrough. And I know it's just the Dreamcast laser because the disc is actually in pretty good condition. Really gotta tighten that thing up sometime soon, but I don't know, the USB solution just seems so much more definitive, you know? But yeah, until we have some sort of official digital solution to the whole software preservation problem, I really don't think any company, or government that even dictates law to begin with, could possibly blame somebody for playing an unofficial version of these old games right now. The best we could hope for is a port to something new. I hope that happens to both of these games because they're totally worth experiencing to the right people, but I sincerely wouldn't count on it. That's just not the way she goes these days. Just like its sister game ILLBLEED, it's certainly not the kind of thing I could recommend to everybody. But if you do like older games, and you're the kind of person who doesn't really struggle too bad with learning awkward or stiffer controls, and you're willing to be patient when things do get a little frustrating or annoying, If you got all of that, well, then Blue Stinger actually does have the potential to be one of the most entertaining things you will ever play. So hey, I say next time you're looking for something with that perfect blend of cool, retro, and silly, I'd say hang your stockings by the fire, sit back, crack open a hassy, and enjoy yourself some Blue freaking Stinger. Because I tell you, this right here is easily one of my favorite things I've ever covered. Two girls and one guy?